Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a new edition of Close Up with Perri Nemiroff. My guest today is Kung Fu Panda star Jack Black. Hello. Congratulations. 4 films.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So every episode of Close Up starts with the essentials. They are rapid-fire-ish questions about movie going and filmmaking. So
Great.
first one on my list, what movie do you quote the most?
Wow. Which one do I quote the most? Probably Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap, the funniest rock and roll movie ever made, bar none.
Solid choice right there. I approve.
This one goes to 11.
I will judge your answer to this next question. What is your most unusual movie-going habit?
You know, I like to pour the Raisinets right into my popcorn.
Oh, I'm not judging that. That's the right choice.
So good, the combo of flavors. The only problem is usually it'll take about 15 seconds and all of the Raisinets will be at the bottom of the popcorn bowl.
But that's when it gets all... Now I'm making it gross for people, but like soggy and mushy and melted.
Correct.
That's the best part.
You gotta bring some wet wipes.
Yes, you do. As long as you come prepared, I approve of that answer. All right, this is an acting question now. What is something that you have done for a role that now makes you say, I am glad I tried that once, but I don't have to do that again?
I worked on a wrestling film a long time ago in Mexico called Nacho Libre, and I insisted on doing a lot of my own stunts. And I had to do this one where I dove out of the wrestling ring and onto my opponent, and there was like some folding chairs there, and I conked my head, and I got like a gash right up on my eye, and I needed to get plastic surgery stitches, not just stitches. But the producer, thank God, was like, no, he needs a plastic surgeon, the best plastic surgeon in Oaxaca, Mexico. And she came straight from a ball gown. She was in her ball gown, and then we went into the hospital room, and she like sewed me up with perfect precision. Luckily, you can't even tell. But ever since then, I do not try to go Tom Cruise. I bring in the stunt man. I keep it safe and sane.
So the next question was another acting question. What would you say is your favorite part of the acting process? Whether it's rehearsing, putting on a costume for the first time, but then I also want not necessarily your least favorite, but a part of the process where you still see room to grow for yourself and you're excited to tackle it.
My favorite part of the process is getting out there in front of the camera and finding that magic, you know? It's the art of having fun. If you can do it, if you can stay loose while cameras are rolling, then that's the key. And nothing can compare to that when you find the key to a scene and you're jamming with some other actors and you get to something funny and fresh and real. That's an incredible rush. Nothing compares to it. Yeah, I like that better than waking up at the crack and diving into a pit of alligators.
I think that's pretty fair right there. If you could add a category to the Academy Awards, what category would you choose and why?
Well, it'd be cool if there was a category for comedians, for comedies. I don't think it gets the love that the other categories get, you know? Doesn't get the respect.
Fair. I was specifically going to say voice acting.
Oh yeah, voice acting as well. Thank you.
In all honesty, this particular role, I feel like if that category existed, I mean, you've been honored for your work as Poe at other organizations and events, but
I get
Academy
lots
Awards
of love.
need it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, there is the animation category, so I feel like at least it has that. It's the clowns that really are the criers, the town criers.
All right, last essentials question for you right now. What is something that is still left on your filmmaking bucket list?
I've done pretty much everything I ever wanted to do. Be cool to mix it up in an action-adventure live action. Maybe play a real awesome villain in live action. It would be cool also to do a full-on musical. Did you ever see Chicago?
I have seen that a few times.
Yeah, because it's such a big part of who I am with my music. It'd be cool to mix it up and just blow people's minds with a musical.
I feel like we're speaking this into existence right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
I look forward to seeing that. I believe it will happen.
You never know.
All right, into the meat of our interview right now, back to the early days. Can you tell me the very first time you felt the power of movie magic and it inspired you to take a film home with you? Whether it was a horror movie that kept you up at night, a movie toy you had to have, something like that.
I mean, the very first movie I went to was Murder by Death with my parents. I think I was like 9. Oh, but I also went to see Rocky Horror Picture Show when I was like 10. That was crazy because the whole audience was up and dancing and screaming at the screen. That was pretty radical. A little later, when I was a teenager, I remember seeing, I went to the theater and saw The Breakfast Club, and that really spoke to me, a teen in the 80s.
Now, to turn that towards you, do you remember the first time you felt your own ability to create movie magic? A time when you got completely lost in a scene, or maybe when you were in a packed house and realized the effect that your work could have on people?
Well, the first movie part I ever got was a movie called Bob Roberts, and it was a small part, but it was a good part. Like, had a cool, funny scene in it. My audition was like banging. I remember in the audition, I was just like ripping it and felt like I was one with the universe, and the director was laughing his ass off, and I was like, oh, I nailed it. And then when when it was time to go and film it, I was like, oh, it's not feeling like I'm getting that sweet audition magic. And I did my best, and the director was like, let's do it again, but this time way faster. Stop thinking about it. Get out of your head. And I was like, okay. And I took his direction, and I went faster, and it did bring it to life in a way. And I was like, holy cow. One good note from a director can change a scene and can take it from being kind of slow and like out of connection with the movie and bring it right into focus. Yeah, that's when I first felt like, ooh, this movie making, it can be like a combustible magical experience.
Such a good example. It also highlights the fact that there are no small roles.
Correct.
In any movie, ever. All right, 2 personal career questions inspired by Poe's journey in the film, because in this movie, he is learning to be a bit of a teacher. So first, I want to know who filled that role for you in the early days of your career? Someone who taught you a specific acting technique, or maybe just, functioned as a leader on set in a way that inspired you to follow in their footsteps and do that for others?
My first acting teacher was a lady named Deb Devine. She was a real miracle worker and worked with a lot of like inner city youths and troubled teens. And she kind of got me through a tough time in my life. And it was like half theater class, half therapy. It's got a real therapeutic like benefit to it. If you've got a good acting teacher who can work you through scenarios, it's kind of amazing. And then later in high school, I had a teacher named Scott Weintraub, and he really challenged us with material that was like intellectually way beyond our high school years. Like, we did this Bertolt Brecht play, which is this German political theater called the Caucasian Chalk Circle. And it was kind of a mind-blowing revolutionary tale. And those are the 2 that come to mind, those early theater teachers. And that's why I always encourage parents who have kids that want to like experience theater, encourage that. It can be so educational. And a lot of times parents will be like, oh, that's just horsing around. You got to stick to math and English. And it's like, no, dude, you can learn so much from theater. Can really expand your mind.
So true. I'm also always here for name-dropping teachers that inspired you early on, because they
Yeah.
never get the credit they deserve,
So
ever.
true.
All right, so kind of the flip side of that, when you were first starting out in this industry, what is something that you wish more, big-name actors, leaders on set did for you that you now strive to give up-and-comers on the sets you work on?
I think it's really cool if the lead of a movie takes the time to create community with the whole team. Take the whole cast out for a dinner just to like get everyone on the same page and make everyone feel that sense of community. Because it's real easy when you're working hard on a movie to just go in your trailer, go in your bubble, and just focus on your part, and you can lose sight of the fact that it's really a team effort. And the more people feel like we're working together on this, the better the whole movie can be.
Ooh, I've got a good follow-up question to that, but I want to squeeze in one more career question inspired by Poe's journey, because something that happens in this movie that I think a lot of people out there are going to find very relatable is the idea of letting something go to gain something new. So can you give me an example of a time in your career when you kind of had to move past something and it was hard to let that go, but you gained something in the process?
I mean, yeah, it's always tough to make the transitions into different characters and different roles, and I'm not going to play that kid role anymore. It's time to really like find some different materials. And yeah, I think all of life is about letting things go and moving on to the next phase of your life. I've been lucky. I've been able to transition and play some cool parts all along the way, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a specific example of something I've let go. Nothing's coming to mind.
All right, here's a really big question to try to hit two titles on your filmography now. Of all of the co-stars you've ever had, can you name someone with a similar process to your own, where the second you met, you're like, we get each other, we're in sync? But then I also want the opposite, someone with a different approach to the work that challenged you to adapt and maybe try something new and for the better.
The first person that comes to mind is a writer named Mike White. We met early on when we were both kind of starting out, and he was so funny and smart. He wrote this part for me in a movie called School of Rock, and it was the only time a writer has really written specifically for me and created a character in a movie built around my strengths. And that will go down as probably my greatest collaboration, me and Mike White and Jack Black. And it's so awesome to see him now kicking ass with his own TV series, The White Lotus.
He should take
It's
you
my
to The
favorite
White
show.
Lotus.
Hey, you never know.
Cast
Never
him
say
in
never.
season 3.
But whatever. And someone who took me to a new place that I didn't think I could go. Let me think about that for a minute. It was another Mike White joint, but a fella named Jared Hess asked me if I would play a Mexican wrestler in Nacho Libre, and that was a big stretch for me. And it was an incredible experience. And it was one of the first times that I had done a character that was so different from me in my voice, my accent, and my world, you know, and that was an awesome experience. Another one that comes to mind is Richard Linklater gave me a part in a movie called Bernie, where I played a gay mortician. That was another stretch for me, and it was like a really cool experience. Yeah, I like working outside of my comfort zone and getting to a character that doesn't sound or look like me, and I can kind of disappear into. Those are incredible experiences too, and I owe both of those directors a great debt for believing in me.
Kung Fu Panda, full force now. To highlight Po's journey in this film series, what is a quality of Po's you've enjoyed playing since the very beginning, and what is a new quality that you got to play into in Kung Fu Panda 4 that would make Kung Fu Panda 1 making you go, my God, I can't believe I'd get to do that with that character one day?
The first part of the question, what was a quality of Po that I enjoyed playing from the very beginning, was his innocence, just his sweet, sort of childish obsession with kung fu and action figures and these toys of childhood. I could relate to that because, you know, I had a very powerful, creative sort of imagination when I was a kid, and easily able to tap into that part of my memory banks. And that's a fun thing to play, childish enthusiasm. And that's, I think, part of why people love that character is that that sort of youthful innocence and exuberance. And then over the course of the franchise history, and now here we are, and Po's all grown up, and it's time for him to take on the mantle of the great, wise, spiritual leader. He's transitioning into this different phase of his life. He's got to find some patience, and he's got to be able to work with someone who he thinks of as his enemy. He's got to open his world to let someone in that he doesn't entirely trust, and he finds out that this person actually has a lot in common with him, and he ends up being really good friends, making a new friend and growing from that relationship and that experience.
I enjoy that combo quite a bit. You've had the opportunity to work with many incredible directors on this franchise. Can you tell me something specific about Mike that pulled something new out of Po or out of you as a voice actor?
Well, Mike is super smart and funny, and so Stephanie, by the way, co-director, and they had a great 1-2 punch where Mike would act out what he was thinking in his mind would be the best way to do the lines, or, you know, the joke. And that's what you want in a director. You want someone who gets the character and the humor from the inside and can really experience it and live and breathe the part themselves, so that you guys can meet in the workspace and get to those places that you need to get. And Stephanie would break it down and get even into the weeds of the details and say, yeah, that was great. Would you mind pushing it a tiny bit further on the sensitivity side? And she would get me going to strive for even more. And I think between the two of them, I was able to do some stuff I had never done in any of the previous Kung Fu Pandas, and I'm super psyched for people to see the fruits of our labor.
Can you give us an example of one of those things?
Oh, hell no. Next!
Fair enough, fair enough. This next question might get weird, but I'm fascinated by efforts. I want to know the effort that is easiest for you to do in the booth, but then also the everyday sound that's most difficult to replicate.
It's always hard to replicate real battle sounds. If you're really in a fight for your life, that takes a lot of screams and guttural things that can actually damage your voice if you're really going full bore. And I only have one gear. I go all the way. I go a Hondo %. So sometimes my sessions will have to be kind of short because I'll go hoarse, you know?
All right, I'm going to squeeze in one more Kung Fu Panda 4 question, specifically for my nephew, and I'm going to put you on the spot creatively.
Yeah.
Let's say Po was inspired by Bowser and wanted to create a song like Peaches about something Po loves the most.
Yeah.
What would that thing be, and what might the song sound like?
Oh my God. I guess it would be something like, dumplings, they're so sweet. I eat it and I am complete. What is inside? I'm gonna bite it and go for a ride. Flavors, flavors, oh, that's not good. I'm just copying Peaches and putting new lyrics on it.
I mean, that's fine by me.
I need more time.
All I've heard was Peaches over and over the last couple of months. He's obsessed.
Oh, okay, well, thank you.
I'm happy to add that to the rotation.
Let me try to write
though.
a new one on the spot. Chopsticks, having a ball. Go get it, now we're it all. Something, go for the rice. What now, reuniti on ice? It needs work. These songs, you can't just poop them out on the spot. I need to meditate. I need to go up to a mountaintop in the Himalayas. I gotta have time.
This might suggest otherwise to me, though. I am very impressed, and if I go home and play this for Jude and he gives it the thumbs up, you can create songs on the spot whenever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Jack, thanks so much for your time today.
My
Huge
pleasure.
congratulations on the movie.
Thank
To everybody
you.
out there, that's a wrap on Close Up with Perri Nemiroff. Keep an eye out for Kung Fu Panda 4 on the big screen on March 8th.